All right, we're live.
Nice.
So, see if this will show up now. All right, I'm pretty new to this whole StreamYard podcasting thing, so you're just gonna have to bear with me for just a split second. So, we'll let. I just posted about this, so some folks are gonna come over from YouTube. Boneyard and all those guys are just basically wrapping up their YouTube. So get wait just a second, and we'll get a few more people over here.
Cool.
So
sounds good.
I guess we'll have to regale with witty tales of growing in the Such and Tell then.
Yeah.
Tim will tell us a tale because I'm going to put him on the spot.
Tell us a little story.
Well, I'm currently growing in the world's smallest sub-irrigated planter. It holds about 250 milliliters of liquid and about a yogurt cup worth of cocoa. So that'll be fun. I'm going to be growing some little mini bonsai auto flowers as shits and giggles.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Always fun to
They're
do.
doing good, man. They're doing good, actually. I just gave them their first true feeding, so yeah. But your girls are doing better than those autos are. I've given them a little bit more room to breathe.
Excellent. So all right, well, let's get this thing started. So right now, I got a couple Canadians on. This is One World, One Plant showcase that we put on earlier in the year. So for the folks that don't know, In-House put on a showcase starting late last year where we picked a bunch of people literally around the world to participate in a growers showcase. So the idea was to emphasize the importance of home growing, the importance of just growing this plant, and also to just put a hyper focus on the fact that this plant brings so many people together. As an example, I wouldn't know half the people that I interact with, obviously, majority of the people I interact with on social media if it wasn't for this plant. And I've met some really awesome people. Just as an example, Matt from Photosyntech, he's a Canadian. He's a captain of the Canadian team. When we were picking captains and getting things organized and orchestrated in the beginning, I hit up Matt and asked him if he'd be a captain, and he said absolutely, whatever he needs. And what I did was I sent him all the stuff that he needed in order to get his team up and going, and that's exactly what he did. Matt is also Photosyntech on YouTube, right? He's got his YouTube channel, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to hand it over to him because he's a little bit more professional on the whole podcasting, but I'm going to have him introduce himself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and kind of tell us a little bit about your story about how this came about and your experience to this point.
Oh, 100%. And Brendan, just huge thanks to you and your crew for putting this on, doing what you've done, and bringing myself and all the people that I'm working with into the fold here. So yeah, like you said, the One World, One Plant Challenge, that started off, it was November time frame, I think the original draw was, and I heard about it through one of the members of my community and jumped in. It was just one of those things of fortunate circumstance where I was able to enter the draw and then was subsequently chosen and jumped in. It was just one of those things of fortunate circumstance. So I think one of the best things about it was being chosen just as part of that random draw, because as a YouTuber and doing what I do, I don't tend to enter much stuff. I'm taken care of by my sponsors and whatnot. So entering something like that, winning, and then getting to meet and work with you, as well as all these other great people. And we did that live stream on my channel about a month ago, meeting some of the other captains. I've since had one more of them on. And actually, I met with Tino earlier today, so he's going to be on the show this weekend. And we're going to chat a little bit about some of the stuff that we were doing with the One World, One Plant, as well as just how awesome everything that he's doing is. But, from there, received the beans and sent them out and started meeting some of these Canadian growers who were chosen. And we've formed our own little community on the Discord where we're sharing our grow and really having a lot of fun with it. And I think that's been the best part about it in general, is just this expansion of community, getting to meet more people, working with you, working with other growers. It's been a real honor, real treat to just get to participate. at this level.
So how's the progress so far, as far as like you popped on the first with everybody else, right?
I ended up actually popping a little bit late just because of timeline. I went around the 15th, and these plants are ridiculously vigorous. Normally, I'll actually grow stuff out without doing a lot of training the first time, just because I like to watch the plant, see how it grows. But I had to slow these ladies down. They so vigorous that I had to top them to do something to get them to slow down, and I think that really just pissed them off. But things are going really well in that regard, and I've actually got a male. I put him into flower a couple days ago for some of that sweet pollen.
Yeah. So with the hashtag, everybody's been referring or defaulting to the hashtag, and the progress has been great. There's a Spaceman, which has been putting up great content just since the beginning. Hopefully Trey joins us because she's been doing a lot of cool stuff in her garden. Ultimately, it's been a great success up to this point, and I'm super excited for that. But also, like I said, the combination from the excitement that has gone down and just the overall attitude that everybody's had has been great. And one thing that I really, really thought was cool is, even though we had captains, we had teams, a lot of people kind of broke off and started forming their own groups of folks and been interacting with each other. That's been really cool to see, and watching that unfold for sure.
Oh, for sure. And it's I think it's expanding past that too, because it's those folks who are watching on the sidelines getting more interested and whatnot. And we talked about this a little bit when you came on the show, how this is really just that trial run to work through the kinks and see where something like this can go. So I guess I'll fire it back to you there, Brendan. Have you thought more about where you want to take this for round 2?
Yeah, so what we're kind of kicking around, I got a couple other people jumping on board, and we're gonna probably triple or quadruple the amount of participants last year. So that's one thing I was starting to get excited about. Is we kind of crashed, like I said, we crashed the car a little bit on this go around, and that was just working out the kinks. But for the most part, everything got to where it was going, and the vast majority of the folks were able to start on January 1st or in and around January 1st. There was one person that just like 2 weeks ago just got their envelopes, which was wild because theirs was sent December 2nd, So a little bit hang up there. However, it'll be fun because I think we're going to do FEMS regs and have a category for testers. So that way we can have people get challenged, and that'll also showcase the fact of, how important it is to hunt and the proper way to hunt, and start getting that, situated and seeing that unfold. So really it's this combination of, pushing people to limits that they didn't otherwise not realize that they had, plus getting to do what everybody enjoys. At the end of the day, everybody enjoys doing what we do, and we have a great time doing it. And now we're starting to interact with each other in a positive manner, right? Where previous it was like, oh, hit that with some cow mag, or you suck, or you should see what my grow is. The conversation is starting to shift, and it's kind of drowning out the assholes and that type of attitude, which has been really positive. And also too, I can't stress how positive those emails were, and the messages and the attitude that people have been putting up has been phenomenal. And I'm fortunate to be in a position here to pull this off. But also now I got some friends coming on board, and I got folks that are really ready to double down and make it that much bigger next year, and be able to get to a lot more people, because this is a worldwide showcase, and that is a pretty big task to take under. And we just did it with a small group, but also with Matt, people like Matt stepping up. You got Canna Crew that stepped up, B9 Grows that stepped up, Tino that stepped up. People just was like, what can I do? How can I help streamline this? How can we push this to the next level? So very, very fortunate for the people that were around me, especially at that particular time, because that is what teamwork is what makes success work, you know. And it was pretty seamless for the most part. Quite the daunting task of getting them all out, you know, like getting them packed up and getting them sent was one thing, but during Christmas time, you know, between Thanksgiving and the first or second week of December, sitting in line at the post office, just making everybody mad because they just had envelope after envelope after envelope, you know, and holding up the line. So we got a lot of groans and all that stuff. But yeah, the future's looking super bright, and want to continue making it bigger every single year. But also, you guys do not forget the fact that this project is powered by in-house, but this project is about everybody that participates and everybody that supports it, right? So we will hold that tight and sacred, because it's you guys that make it work and make it happen. It's you guys that are taking the pictures and taking the time and taking the energy of making this work. And I couldn't thank you guys enough. But like I said, we're going to do our part, and we're going to continue trying to make this as big of a thing as it possibly can be, and keep moving forward.
Oh, for sure. And it's been such a pleasurable experience. I mean, Tim, like, anything that you want to add in on what we've been chatting about here?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just grateful to have the opportunity. Like Matt, I got mine, I think a week into January, and dropped mid-January. I followed Matt's lead. And yeah, it's just been really exciting to A, work with the plants, but B, I think the more exciting thing is just to see everybody else and what they're doing with them. I've already made a handful of new friends from this thing, so it's been really, really cool.
Yeah, overall, just a great experience. And I think for me too, it's seeing everybody's individual plants. Like some people are starting to show some purple traits. Some people are starting to show some, you know, we touched on it earlier, some really heavy stretchers. And some folks are seeing not that same thing. So it's really interesting to just watch that variety of plants grow. This has got to be the world's biggest field, you know.
Well, another cool thing that I'm seeing is people are now starting to harvest the pollen from the males that they got. So they're gonna pollinate whatever's in their garden, and that's gonna carry over. So here's the thing: is that was the intention, was to work off of the plant and keep it going, but also keep in mind that this plant, those two strains are only gonna live in plant form, you know, in clone form from now on, because every single bean went out, every last one of them, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Every last bit. The jar, the jar's around here somewhere, but it's completely empty. In fact, Metadank out of Australia got the last of the last ones. You know, I tried to keep back a couple, but he had added a couple more people, and so it was like a last minute ship off to him, but he got the last of it. So, but yeah, so if you got a phenomenal pheno, be sure to share it. I'm excited to see what people do with it as they work with it. If you're gonna breed with it, I appreciate it if you guys you know, give the seeds up to folks and keep it going that way, you know. So the you know, that's the kind of the plan is to kind of take the one world one plant, base it around you know, a couple of you know, some fems and regs, and see exactly where it goes and create stories, because that way everybody's a part of the same story.
Yeah, that first generation of beans might be gone, but I have a feeling there's going to be a whole bunch of the next generation on its heels. So yeah, I got some pretty cool stuff lined up for it, in particular for both the fems and the regs. I did, like, obviously been talking to a handful of other folks like Tino and Spooky and all those guys, and they're thinking about hitting it up against their gear. So it'll be nice, because we'll have a good portion that'll go out this year, and then the next year we'll be probably in the ability to get, you know, I mean, it's ambitious, but maybe 5,000, 10,000 in that range for people involved, you know. Really, it's just kind of nice, because
even if it's just introducing yourself to growing, and you're getting something, and you have a big, huge support group by the One World, One Plant folks, that are tagging and a part of it anyhow, right? So if you run into a snag, you run into a problem. So it's a nice, good little kind of incubator for folks that are gonna at least take a shot or at least try to grow if they've never grown before.
Well, definitely raising an army. And then, Brendan, quick question for you. Well, maybe a long question. The strains themselves. I mean, everybody knows what we're growing now. The Platinum Punch crossed with the Deadly Sativa, and then the Swabi Pakistani, or is it Pakistani Swabi? I can't remember. Anyway, could you talk to the crosses themselves? Tell us a little bit about maybe what we should expect as we get heavier into flower. Some of the things, phenotype, any particular expressions. Just
so you're gonna. So now for the folks that don't know, we'll do collabs and we'll work with other breeders, and then we get our set of beans, and that's where it basically came from. Is we've been sitting on these beans for a while, and we're trying to figure out what to do with them. But it went through testing. I think a couple years ago. I'll have to look to see exactly when they went through testing, but it came out. It came out great. But as far as like with the Swabi Pakistani, you're going to get kind of a sweet, more you're going to get more of a dense kind of bud, but it will stretch on you a little bit. You got to kind of keep your lights in check, because if you give it a little bit to allow it to stretch, it'll take off on you. The Deadly Sativa, of course, is going to stretch regardless because it's got the sativa in it. So it's going to take but also too, you can train them, which a lot of people are doing, but from there, it's like, it just kind of depends on too, like, what part of the world you're in, right? Because not every place is going to grow relatively the same. So that's what we're kind of seeing now, is the variances of the folks that are in the summer seasons right now, while other folks are in the winter season. So I don't know if you noticed that too with the hashtags, right? So you're getting this broad range of results, which has been really, really cool to see. So it's kind of really hard to pinpoint on one particular set of groups hunts compared to so many people hunting in all different types of environments and different parts of the world, because the plant obviously adapts to its surroundings and is going to grow according to its surroundings, So that's where it's like we tested everything here relatively in the United States, Pacific Northwest, the 45th parallel type of seasons, whether spring into summer, if I believe that, if I get the time correct, But as those beans went all around the world, you have some stuff that's right along the equator, right? With which I think is like South Africa, right? They're along the equator, I believe. So and they're right now. I think they're in the winter months. No, summer months.
Yeah,
we're in the winter,
summer. Yeah.
Right? So when you start seeing their results, just because of the not necessarily atmosphere, but it's just the influx of the temperature and all that. So it's just but to fully answer your question is like you're going to get all different types of traits, because there was ended up being what was it 3,600 beans in the FEMS, and then what was it 2,300, I believe, in the regs.
All right. Yeah, quite a variance there. So
I'm seeing some pretty big genetic expression differences. So I dropped 4 of the regs, and I have 1 confirmed male, 1 confirmed female, and 2 question marks. But even between them, they kind of have structural differences. Some are a little bit lankier than others, so I'm excited to kind of see what plays out. I'm going to grow them all out and see.
Yeah, well, I did half of them myself, and 3 females and 2 males. But I think what I found really surprising was how fast all of them showed sex. Like I was starting to see sex at 4 weeks, so that was really impressive there. Dino,
what up?
how's it going, man?
What's going on, Tino?
Nothing much. I'm a little late, but how's it going?
That's all right. Fashionably late.
Yeah, I'm seeing guys sending me some stuff that it's looking really good. Some of it's having a crazy stretch. The other ones are bushing out multi tops, and everybody's everything's been positive feedback, and it's going great.
Yeah, the one thing that's
Yeah.
got me excited is I'm getting a really heavy skunk smell coming off the male that I popped, and then one of the females, just really, really nice skunky smell, which is good because I don't have a skunk in my lineup right now. So,
Well, especially there was a couple people that didn't follow directions and started as soon as they got them, because some people were getting them in early December, and they're pretty much on the tail end of wrapping up, if not already wrapped up. So the flower, we'll start getting actual cured out flower pictures here over the course of the next few weeks, which is going to be pretty exciting. And so I'll probably end up recalling some of it, so that way we can get the test on it, and we'll probably do an emphasis on it, so that way we can see what we can do going from there.
very cool, very cool.
But yeah, but also I think next year though, probably do it a little bit different. Though I'm excited because I want to really challenge some folks that really tout themselves as being the top of elite kind of growing, and kind of pull them together, not necessarily in a competition, right? But to kind of push them, push them as over a little bit, right? Or kind of make it more challenging for them.
The Navy SEALs of growing, as it were.
Yeah, well, like the hashtag that we got that's attributed to in-house, with the in-house army, is some of the best growers, and I say that on every time that I'm in front of a screen, because it's the truth, right? And from there though, those are some of the folks that I kind of want to spotlight and continue to highlight, and kind of put that on a pedestal, because day in and day out, the men and women that be hashtagging that just be killing it on a regular basis, So we're going to continue coming up with these crazy ideas to incorporate as many people as possible, and continue to incorporate as many people as possible, so that we can reach every corner of the world, so at least somebody's doing something or a part of something. Because I don't know if you guys feel the same, but you can agree or not, but it's really cool to be part of group projects, where you really feel like you're a part of the project and you're contributing to the project. And especially like when growing, because a lot of people find solace in growing, and this is like their release, or their getaway from the crazy ass world that we live in, right? Where you turn on the news, it's just nothing but devastation and all this crazy shit that goes on. But when you're in your garden, it's you and your babies, essentially, right? And they depend on you, you depend on them, and it's like a nice little two-way street, And as corny as that sounds, there's a lot of truth to that. So the more joy that you can be responsible for, the better, and we'll make our little cutout, our little orb of the world that much better for us. But then continue to do these projects, and always keep pushing these projects forward, because I get these crazy brain ass ideas, and I talk to my friends, and then they be like, it's pretty crazy, but I think you're going to end up doing it anyway, even if we tell you that it's crazy, and so it's like, well, let's do it. So as an example, hit up a couple of folks. I want to do really what I very discerning is the fact that we have a really low followership of women in the industry, right? And so I want to actually carve out and take maybe 10 or 20, right? And really push and showcase that aspect, And anytime you do something like that, you get dudes who be like, well, what about us? It's like, no matter what you do, you're going to get some sort of flack. So I reached out to a couple of folks around that I do follow and ask them if they would like to participate, if they would like to kind of spearhead it. And I would, and so I've got a couple of people that I'm going back and forth with, and we'll just lend our support to that group of folks, and we'll provide whatever it is, whether it's going to be a clone or whether it's going to be whether it's going to be seeds, and let them run through the spring and summertime, really showcasing their work as well. You know.
I think that's such a great idea there, because there's so few female growers in this space that are sort of being showcased, being elevated, and the ones that are really good at what they're doing. And I, in particular, having had a few on my shows like Painted Lady, Green's Goddess, most recently Shield Maiden's Garden, they're wonderful growers, and just the way that they look at things versus the way that we look at things, it's different. I mean, there's no argument, I think, that can be made there that the women in the garden, they have a special touch that us guys just can't achieve. I don't know if it's a mothering thing or something, but I love the idea of celebrating the ladies in the grow room, because they deserve it.
Well, yeah, it's just the like look at Love in Her Eyes, Miss Mad Reefer, House of Heat. They're like, they live in they're working in an industry that's a male dominant industry, but they're just killing it. They're some of the best, if not the best, right? But now, with that said, is you have a lot of these up and coming folks that don't really get necessarily recognized or anything like that, right? And so that's where you kind of want to emphasize and showcase. So as an example, put a post out was women in cannabis tagged the ones that you respect, and that post went really well and got to see a lot of people's work, you know. But it goes in line with everything is like, you want to find situations and groups that you don't really, doesn't have that much exposure, and kind of shed a light on it. And fortunate that In-House is able to do that, right? You know, and also our friends that support us, right, that also pick up that light and shine it that much brighter on the folks, you know. So, you know, yes, we just used the women showcase as an example, but there's going to be many, many more to that. So, like, we will do stuff where we will find people that are just starting out, like we feel like they're struggling, and kind of create, you know, possible workshops, or, you know, something that where we work in a mass or in a group, you know, kind of thing. Because that's one thing I've noticed is when it's a group think and there's a group that's involved, things happen, things move, and people have a great time doing it, you know. And so, as an example, a spinoff of the One World One Plant is starting to get more directly involved with folks directly, because just seeing these hashtags and interacting with these folks, and I noticed that there was just a lack of true content that's coming out on YouTube. Like, you have your growers showcase, or your growers forum, and a handful of other things, right? But there's the Grow Dudes, but there's not really too much out there for the beginner, right? You know, a lot of the videos and a lot of the things that's out there is for more advanced growers in more terms that they may not fully understand. So I've been kind of searching around, looking for people that are just new enough to kind of you know, bring and explain, you know, to the new people that are coming in, this whole wave of new growers. As an example, V9 Grows does a great job of that, because he's a fairly new grower, and he understands how it feels to hit a wall, and understands that to listen to something and not fully understand it, but, you know, to try to have to go learn on the fly, or, you know, make mistakes, you know, right? So so I've been talking to a handful of people, trying to get those type of situations going, and you know, like I said, lending our support to get people to support them, and also to working on a pretty cool project, which is we've coined it the Network. And it's really just a combination of people talking about growing, there's entertainment, also getting information that's needed to get out. As an example, we have so many different aspects to this industry that need to be talked about and on the forefront. And you want to be able to kind of put that content in a local place, or in one place. And we're beginning to do that, because believe it or not, this is going to turn political, right? But we can do it in a political way that works for everybody, because we can protect the plant, we can protect our rights, we can protect other people's rights across the country and across the world, because there is an industry that is looking to be monopolized, and only way we're going to be able to prevent that is if we work together and we stick together. So that's what I mean by political and cannabis politics, right? Is see something, say something. When you're asked to step up and be heard. As an example, Biden today announced, an executive order on cryptocurrency, right? So you can make an executive order on cryptocurrency, but you've had all this time to make executive order on decriminalization, for cannabis, so that means that it's a back burner. There's no politician, it doesn't matter if they're red or blue, does not give a shit about cannabis and wants to keep it, under wraps, because they do still make money off incarceration and suppression, from this plant. So those all this stuff is like with the unrolling of the One World One plant, it did open my eyes to a much more broader range of stuff. And I noticed that that camaraderie of community and coming back to community and pulling that in. And that's really kind of back to like 15, 20 years ago when I first started growing. There was a sense of community, but we also had a bond in the sense like we were doing something that was highly legal, and we needed to be hush hush. So it was kind of like you're in your own little secret group.
Everybody was on their own island back then.
Yeah.
You had like 2 or 3 people that knew what you were doing, and you kind of worked with them. But other than that, that was your information sharing group. A handful. Really.
Yeah, but also
for myself anyway.
You did have the forums where people were truly spitting out some serious knowledge. In a sense, I'll go back and read in the forums those posts are, in some cases 10, 12, 13 years ago, and they're just as relevant today as they were when they were typed out, But those message boards and those groups have gone by the wayside, and we've had since have shifted into this, into this YouTube and Instagram and all that, where it's just a smorgasbord of stuff, and it's really hard to find the information you're necessarily looking for on those type of platforms. So that's what I'm saying is I think we have the ability to maybe change that and kind of shift that and see if we can gain some traction and get that. But that all kind of stems from these projects that we do, and just kind of recognizing, as you start to move into the One World, One Plant type of projects, you start seeing the gaps and where the shortfalls are. And you're like, well, I think I can help, fix that. I think I can help, fill that and all of that, So it's been, it'll continue, like I said, it'll continue to get much bigger, but also broaden everybody's minds, And we also, all the time, we ask people for their ideas and what they think. And we get to take in a lot of information. And that's why I spend so much time on Instagram, way more than I necessarily need to, just going from live to live to live, because I really want to hear what people are talking about and what they're doing, and and seeing what the next thing is and what the next wave is and what the next situation is going to be.
Well, you bring up so many good points there, and just one that I want to kind of go off of is the young grower, especially up here in Canada, where we've got a country that's now been legal for about 3.5 years. And I was chatting with a younger guy today, shout out Doc 420. He's come into a world that's nothing but legal cannabis. He's dealt with that his entire sort of career after getting old enough to walk into that market. But, for a young guy like him, his perspective is so different, because the dispensaries have been there for him, ever since he's become of age. I mean, I'm going to be 45 here in 3 weeks. I like you guys, there was back in the day, you're hiding it, you're keeping it in the shadows. It's stuff that you don't talk about. You only know a few people that might know about it. It's stigma. It's forbidden. It's the devil's lettuce. But now we've got, these young guys that have basically had this thing for their entire lives. Your entertainers that they follow, the Snoop Dogg, for example, really brought in a lot of that stuff. So now it's just normal, commonplace. So for these guys, it's a completely different story. So the thing that they're going to bring is probably this fresh new approach, because it's not something that they've been afraid to talk about.
Partnered with Mark.
But it's like anything, you had that disconnect. So nobody went through the pressure and the stress. There's not say everybody, but anyhow, when you have people that are in that demographic, that 21 to 28 or even as 30, they didn't really necessarily have all the pressure that a lot of us have. You know, especially like possibility of federal charges. So that's all in the past, right? The shit that we did, but also the fight, to keep this plant relevant, but also keeping in mind pushing the medical aspect and pushing the medical attributes, right, was a key factor in making it legal in the first place. Since then, once it turned legal, then what you had you had the states realizing, oh, this is a taxable juggernaut for us, right? And it kind of pushed the medical aspect to the wayside, which is really unfortunate. But what you're having is you have a lot of people that are just alienated that come from the medical side of stuff, right? But that don't know that come from the medical side, but that are just basically burnt out or just frustrated with the current system, and so they don't really have that fight anymore, right?
Yeah.
And
Brendan,
so,
your audio has gone really low and tinny. I don't know if your mic is.
mine is gone.
Yeah, it's really dropped there just the last minute.
It's a can and a string right now.
How about now?
Yeah, still the same thing.
Here, I'm gonna come back in and come back out.
Yeah, drop
You guys
it
don't go
back
nowhere.
We'll hold the fort.
All right.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like what he was saying is all the information now. There's like tons of information. It was hard to get the information before, and it's just there's so much now. I couldn't imagine start growing now with all the different info, and it's a little overwhelming. But
well, that's a really good point. I mean, it's almost to the point of overwhelming. Like, where do these young guys go? Where do they start?
yeah,
And a lot of disinformation out there too, right?
yeah. There's a lot of bad information.
You have a lot of people giving bad advice to new growers, and they're just all messed up when they finally land in your lap, and you're like, okay, let me show you the way.
And too, you get on Instagram and all you do is you just see everybody's perfect grow, and nobody's really posting all the bad shit.
Yeah.
So you're like, what the hell is happening to my grow? Nobody's posting this. So then you feel like you suck or whatever. You don't want to keep. It's a little discouraging, but you just got to learn from those errors and keep moving forward, and just know that everybody goes through that.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I do,
And it never stops. You always go through it. Like it never stops. You're always going to have an issue to deal with. I mean, that's the fun. That's part of that therapeutic, fun, exciting part of growing is it's never going to be ideal, and so you're fighting for that ideal balance all the time. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always say it, like, there's always something going on in the garden. And if you're not getting it, you're missing it. Like, there's always something. It could be a very, very small issue. It could be a giant issue. It's tough to say in that regard. So you got to be vigilant. You got to stay on top of things.
Even a perfect grow can be improved upon. You can always do better the next time. It's like,
and if you guys have any problems, just add more CalMag. If
always,
you know what I mean, that's
always CalMag.
That's like the universal.
The organic house, though, we're doing oyster shell flour nowadays. So.
Nice. Well, it's one of the things I sort of pride myself on with my weekly vlogs are, like, I show my fuck ups. Like, I screw up all the time. I do. I make mistakes. It happens. I set up a light one time, and instead of plugging it into the timer, I just plugged it in the power strip and ran that light for 5 days straight in a flowering perpetual growth. So these things happen. But the point of the matter is, like, I don't have a problem sharing my fuck ups because it happens. But also, look at the fantastic plant that I have. I don't look stressed. Enjoy your grow. Just be there. Look at it. Do your thing. Accept the fact that mistakes are going to happen. Deal with them and move on and continue to just get good stuff. It's not hard.
Mistakes are always going to happen. I mean, there's no two ways about it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're not messing up, you're not doing anything right.
Yeah.
Right. But that's how you learn. But back to what I was saying before the audio kind of cut out is you do have this disconnect. And so, but that's why you have to educate and you have to stay vigilant because the industry in cannabis is changing daily, on in such a rapid pace that we could lose a lot of the rights and a lot of the benefits that we've gotten over the past couple of decades with medical coming on board and then legalization. Because if the plant starts solving too many problems, they're going to want to capitalize on that and capitalize that in a way that that's going to keep the common, regular, everyday person, out of it. So that's where the monopolization is starting to form when you're starting to see these MSOs, which stands for multi-state operators. They're coming in and consolidating a lot of these markets. And if you allow that to happen, the problem is the quality goes down, but it goes down gradual, so you don't even know, right? So you're just kind of slowly getting dumber, and it dumbs down the situation, So they're looking at the next wave of customers that aren't going to really know that high quality, So that's where I say is like, moving forward and constantly educating people is like, there's a lot of people in the wake of this bogus ass drug war that cannabis was washed up in. And it's all for naught, because you have somebody that's looking at, literally just reading the news today, you got somebody looking at 5 years in prison, all the while there's people making millions of dollars, right? So the only difference was out of license. I mean, that's what comes back to what I was saying earlier. You can get decriminalization. You can't get decriminalization, but you can get bogus executive orders for crypto and stuff like that. We need serious reform in that matter. But also, ultimately, we need the bar lowered so the people that deserve and need to get into this industry to make it a better industry can enter the industry. It's just right now that bar is raised so high, but there's no collective voice. There's nobody really coming to the fray. So as an example, you mentioned the Snoop Dogs and you mentioned the Willie Nelsons and all that, but they all stay eerily silent when it says that, hey, we need to protect this plant, or we need to protect this, right? We need to protect that. But it's like every once in a while you'll see a celebrity come out and a little maybe chirp about it, but everybody will rush in to set up their deals and all that, but they don't talk about the wake and all the struggle that took in order for them to even be able to be in a position to benefit from that.
Yeah, it's like look in California right now. I just found out they're trying to pass a law here. If you have more than 6 plants, you get a felony, and that's just crazy.
Yeah, that's what they do. So, like as an example, up in Michigan, the MCMA wanted to essentially put caps and really hinder the caregiver program they have there, right? So if you hinder a program, in a sense, you sanction it. You can come back later and say, oh, this program doesn't work, so it makes it easier to get rid of it completely, right? Yeah. So you have to kind of see, because they can't just come out outright and say, we're getting rid of this program, because there'll be too much feedback. So what they do is they take a lot of it away and gut it. And then when it falls on its face, right, they can say, oh, well, it doesn't work, so we can get rid of it. Now we need to implement this or implement that, right? So you guys have to stay vigilant and watch that kind of stuff, because there is some states where you can still, on the books, you can home grow. Like in Washington, we were able to grow under the medical program, but when legalization came in, they said absolutely no home growing. Boom, everything needs to be under license, and it switched overnight. So that's what that's what has to happen. So like Jordan Ramsden, the genetic patents aren't going to work because this is an organic plant. So you have to synthesize a plant in order to, or GMO it in order to patent it.
Yeah, and it's like out here, they're taxing us so hard in California. They're trying to still make the money off of the incarceration and everything else. I feel like passing laws like that and off the taxes, it's just total greed, and there's no reason to have 6 plants to be a felony. It's just completely crazy, and it's you're supposed to be passing laws to make less criminals. You know what I mean? Not more. Like it's just totally ass backwards. I just can't understand it.
Well, I have a theory behind that. So you don't want to have somebody grow, and you kind of want to hinder them, because take it as an example, the reason why we can actually have this conversation, why we have legalization, is because the benefits, the actual medicinal benefits, is what pushed this through. So you started off with the CBD aspect, in the Charlotte's Web, in the hemp realm, and all of that, right? That's what really set this thing up, because you had soccer moms driving from Georgia to Colorado across 7 states, breaking law after law after law, just so they could give their children relief from from seizures, grand mal seizures. Okay, so when you look at the history of legalization and medical and all that, that's where all that comes from, right? Now, this issue is if you're able to, say, grow whatever you're looking for, or something that helps you or that heals you, that becomes a problem, because that's one less, pill, or that's one less situation that you have to depend on, in order to, to pay. So it's, at the end of the day, it is truly all about money, because the FDA curbed the ability for people to produce or to put CBD and infuse CBD into drinks and food and all that, and it was purely because they said that they didn't have enough research. However, I don't know if you guys seen some of the stuff that has been approved by the FDA, right? As an example, a lot of people don't know it, but over 45% of the funding from the FDA comes from the very same companies that they're supposed to police or monitor, right? And that shocks a lot of people. But also, in addition to that, since 2017, 373 medications have been recalled from the FDA, right, for numerous reasons and whatnot. So their altruistic attitude is no longer intact, because they're not a watchdog. But however, they are told what to do and when to do, in my opinion, anyhow. So when you have something that can help body as much as like CBD, how in the effects that it has, and how it basically works with your blood cells to heal a lot of stuff, the FDA is going to, of course, curb that, because that's going to put a bigger emphasis, and people are feeling better, right? That's gonna create problems elsewhere, because especially in the United States, because we don't no longer work on cures anymore. It's all about treatments, right? So anytime you hear about an ailment or anything like that, it's how you treat it, not cure it anymore. So we lost that since the early 50s and 60s, where we were a little bit more ambitious on curing stuff. So with that said, is like, you don't want a vast majority of people growing if they can start creating their own situations and healing themselves, or using it for practices that's going to make them feel better. So it goes against, and it will hit the actual pharmaceutical industry in its pockets. In a clear idea that is, and clear example is Epidiolex, right? $36,000 a year for that treatment. And it's just a small amount of THC and CBD in that vial, but it essentially stops grand mal seizures in its tracks. And there's one company that owns the patent, and that's GW Pharmaceutics, and they're a UK company, and they took in, I think, almost $400 million last year just on that drug alone. And that's something that you can make in your kitchen if you had some Everclear and evaporated.
That was exactly what I was going to say. I'll make that for the patient in 2 months right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So because here's the thing, and I tell people all the time, I don't know how to make a Vicodin. And I certainly don't know how to make insulin, right? But I can grow some of the finest cannabis in the world. So if somebody can take that and make something else out of it, and that's going to help somebody, then that's progress, and that's teamwork, and that's people talking to each other in coming up with solutions, because we're not currently getting any solutions, and we do need more studies, more case studies. They need to actually get this into the universities so we can get transparent information, because this plant is close to the human body with the endocannabinoid system and the cannabinoids, right?
Yeah.
That's already known.
I think there's the University of Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken, got a huge federal grant for cannabis testing and studies. The fact that academics and scientists are now starting to get their hands dirty with it is a good thing, I think. I think that's going to help break the stigma. It's going to provide proper education for people to perpetuate, as opposed to the misinformation and the propaganda that's really been out before now. So I think we're seeing positive trends, and there's going to be growing pains. We see it up here in Canada. I mean, we've been legal for quite some time, but even now there's provinces that don't allow the legally
allowed for plants. There's still people paying fines for growing medicine in their home, which I think is the most absurd concept. You know, like I can grow fresh tomatoes and rosemary and beautiful flowers, but I
don't see
can't grow a medicine that'll help me sleep at night, that'll help me sit down without back pain and having to take an opiate. You know, like it's preposterous. So it's going to take everybody being loud and vocal to get it done. But the fact that academics have it now, I think, is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
And to what you're saying
that's
is you're growing your own tomatoes, growing your own food. Look, you grow your own food. You don't see Trader Joe's sending the cops to kick down your door because, you know, you're growing too many damn tomatoes. You know what I'm saying, right? I mean, it's just absurd, the absurdity of
My
that.
tomatoes are better than theirs too.
Yeah, I grow some pretty threatening okra, so.
But
that's like, you know, like in-house says, that's part of this one world, one plant, guys. The only way we're going to change any of this is we got to start coming together. You know, we have power in numbers, and you saw how that had an effect in Michigan, you know, and it's just a good thing that somebody needs to put, you know, we need to start coming together and you know, changing some of this shit around.
yeah, well, that's it. And that's where I say is like these type of projects, because what it does is it gets a lot of people talking, and a lot of people do. There's a lot of people that still grow for medicinal aspects, right? So that their discussions are going to be critical in this, because at any given time, if we find something that is a really kind of cutting edge, we can take it right back underground, right? You know, and produce whatever needs to be produced in order to continue to help people, right? You know, so we're just scratching the surface. But what they want to do is, like anything, they want to legalize it, right? You make it illegal for you to you know, to create something, right? You know, so as an example, did you guys know in the United States, if I was to give a vial of insulin to Tino, I'm in violation of federal law? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's insane.
I couldn't give him a vial. That's wild.
I know there's a ton
It all comes back to money. It's just all about
there's a ton
money.
of Americans that
It really is. You follow the money.
There's a ton of Americans that come up to Canada to get their insulin because they can't afford to get it in the States.
And they're breaking the law doing that.
Totally illegal. Yeah, but they do it anyway because frig them. You know, like, why would I pay 10 times more for the same medication?
But one of the biggest,
exact same shit.
The reason we are such major advocates for the home growers, because one, that's our wheelhouse. That's who made in-house. But also, second to that, that's where all innovation is coming from, right? That's where problems are being solved daily, regularly, all the time, right? Because they get allowed to work on in their own time and at their own pace, and people come up with these great, from techniques to you name it, that only makes an industry that's coming. There's no way around it, you guys. It's coming, but it makes it that much better, but also creates a counterbalance in that. But with it, like I said, but originally, like with what our projects, and especially like the One World, One Plant, is I want to make it as big as possible, so that way when the call to actions come, when stuff's being, pushed on us that, we need to take action, all that, everybody that's on board has experienced the greatness that this plant has all brought us, right? So they can stand up and feel and hold their head proud and be like, yes, this plant helped me. This plant now needs my help. I'm gonna go stand up for it, right? And not just here in the United States. We're talking our brothers and sisters up in Canada, over in Europe, right? In Africa, Australia, right? Collective voices, they can resonate, they can go far. And I really feel that, hemp and cannabis is a good starting point to turn this world around, and that's really optimistic thinking. But at the same time, I believe it, and if I, keep thinking it, I can manifest it, and maybe it'll lead and it'll spread, and maybe we can do a lot of cool stuff, right? And that's kind of, like I said, where it's at. But one of the things is One World, One Plant. Make no mistake about it. It's about all you guys and everybody that is participating in it, that continues to participate in it, and actually celebrate it, and we'll get to make it, and we get to continue making it bigger.
You have my shield, sir.
And my sword.
Yeah. we got about 5 more minutes because I really don't want to go over an hour. But but you guys got anything in closing you guys want to say?
I'm gonna shamelessly plug Tim and mine's new YouTube channel, Living Soil
Absolutely.
Society. All about organic growing, guys. So go check it out. Sub up. We got a couple videos. Shameless plug.
That's right.
Excellent. Yeah. So and I'm gonna plug. So what Tino and a handful of other folks like Spooky. He's in the comment sections. Underground Lit, Boneyard, My Betty Chronic. We put this together, this kind of starting to form this network of folks. V9 Grows is in there. I'm pretty sure we'll get Matt from Photosyntech to put up some content. But the idea is to kind of start creating essentially like a network of folks that's going to bring you a broad range of stuff. So and kind of organize some of this YouTube stuff and this Instagram live stuff, and bringing a lot more folks together. It is a pretty ambitious project, but I'm pretty sure it'll work, and we'll see where it goes. And so we got Soggy Socks that apparently his feelings are hurt.
Also, bring anything outdoor, please. It never flips. The hell?
So yeah, actually Soggy Socks. I can tell you right now how much full of shit you are, because if you go to Rogue Farmer, their whole farm is outdoor light dip, right? And they kill it. You should go and check their results on their turf profiles. Killed it. And so, yes. Oh man, I got
shout out!
right here.
Shout out to Bionic Rooster.
Bionic Rooster is the shit. I need to get a hold of him, and that I got that in the mail. That made my day. That was
How rad
awesome.
is that? So
he does
rad.
an awesome job with those laser prints. So I'll hook you up with some contact info for him, Brendan.
Tino kicked himself out.
My audio is like keeps cutting out. You sound like a robot for some reason. I had to like, oh god.
Oh, it happens. Yeah.
It's definitely on my end. I got to get a new phone.
Yeah, see, Soggy Socks, look, I don't know who hurt you, but show us on the doll where in-house hurt you, right? Show us. This is like, yeah, no, I love the trolls.
No, we only pop a couple, and that's how we find our keepers, guys. Come on, get out of here.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, normally no, this is what's fun about it, is you can do this. You can put them on a 5-minute timeout.
Hank in the house.
Go in your corner.
But no,
Go in your corner.
but back to what I was saying though, is like I really appreciate you guys and everybody that's participating. I think we will do more professional YouTube with the man himself, Photosyntech, because the last one that we did, you guys should go check out his page. You're gonna have to go back a little bit, but he did a special on the One World One Plant project, and it was the captains, and we had a great conversation. It's great content. Also, too, he does a growers podcast, right?
Yeah, I've got the Meet the Growers show.
Meet the Growers show.
Yeah,
So
Brendan, of course, is on it.
so he's got Tina. He just wrapped up with Tino, but he's got
This weekend.
great people coming on there.
When's that going to be posted?
This Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. So
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Oh, yeah.
I want to reach out to for you guys that are on Instagram. Grow Shack is in here on the comment section. You guys have to check out his Instagram page. The man can grow some of the best fire, and he grows everybody's genetics too. He does
Yeah, we're trying to build his page back up because he lost his page not too long ago, and he used to have like about 6,000 followers. So, guys, he's excellent content.
Yeah, excellent grower too. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of growers out there. I just kind of like to take a second and spotlight a handful every once in a while. You guys can go ahead and skip over Tino's. It's just,
Yeah, don't come over here. Not unless you want to see 30-year-old growing techniques just being
if you guys
knocked out of the park.
You guys should hit up Tino's Instagram, but mostly also to find his YouTube page. he's got a great segment on deep water culture, and he does phenomenal work with deep water culture. So if you got anybody that's looking into deep water culture or wants some help with deep water culture, Tino's accessible for that. You guys simply hit him up and let him and ask him any questions that you have. So he's
I do like a beginner kit. I do like a beginner kit, and I walk you right through, your first steps into hydro. So
absolutely, and so in grand fashion though, Tino, right? Who's your favorite breeder?
Good timing. Good timing.
So, but yeah, that's his that's this kind of thing. But you guys, thanks again for coming on. Like I said, I'm kind of new to this stream. We're gonna do these more often. In fact, I'm gonna see if Grow Shack and a handful of other growers would like to come on and kind of talk about growing in particular. Have you guys on. And like I said, anytime you guys feel free to reach out if you guys want to do something, if you guys have something to discuss or whatever. Let's keep this thing rolling and keep it moving.
Awesome. Thank you so
But
much.
yeah.
Brandon.
Thanks, Crab Shack. Thanks, Photosynthetic. You guys are awesome. You guys, we're gonna kill it now. So 1 minute over.
Cool.
All right.